This is just dirt today, but we're gonna turn it into a project that's gonna generate millions of dollars in cash flow. So we've been trying to buy this land for a long time. My partner Ross had a relationship with the family. We've been trying to buy the property for years. We actually secured 2 parcels in the last couple of years for a total of 19 acres. And we're gonna be able to build about 318 units, all 2-level in this area, which is a really, really hard area to build in. So we're very excited about this project. Total cost to build this project today is about $87 million. We try to do as many of these as we can. What happens is when real estate pricing goes really high, like let's just say existing properties, then it makes new construction a little more economically feasible. It's not always a good time to build, and it's not always a good time to buy. So you just have to be doing both at all times so that when the opportunity comes, you're in a position to take action. The reason why we want to build today is because it makes sense as compared to what we could buy. Real estate values go up when interest rates are low and there's a lot of people trying to buy stuff. When that happens, then of course, brand new construction makes a lot of sense. You just have to kind of monitor where the market is at all times. And what happened was with this particular market is new construction dropped off a cliff at some point when the interest rates started going up. So we decided to start building now. There's a supply drop off in the next few years. In other words, when the interest rates went up to 8-9% for construction debt, everybody pulls back. You stop building a house, you stop building apartments, you start building things because the cost of money becomes so expensive. That's actually what you want to start building during that period of time if you can do it financially. Because what we want to do is I want to open in 2026 and 27 when there's no new construction. So you want to always do the opposite of what other people are doing. The reason we didn't buy a lot in the last few years is because everyone was buying and they were pushing the prices up. So now that that's reversed, now we go back in and buy. And of course, we're going back in to build at the exact same time. The thing is, a project like this, it could take 1.5 to 2 years before it's even open. And then it'll take another year, let's say, or more to stabilize and lease up. So a project like this is a 3-year project. And now we're in 2024. That means we're going to open in 2027. We can put new debt on in 27 and 28. And the exact process is no different than we did at Riverwalk, Silver Bell, or Aurora Verde. So the reason that you want all these components and all these team members is because you can act quick with a great team to be able to analyze stuff fast. The key to real estate is finding deals and then processing it fast, saying no a lot, and then landing on the ones that are yeses. That's the whole key to having that team. Otherwise, it's just you out there trying to find stuff like on LoopNet, which is impossible, and there's thousands of eyeballs on it. Yeah, tell us a story about this site. There's 3 houses, some barns.
And 4 actually with the Hazel property.
4, so. Yeah, 4 houses. How big?
The site's a total of 19 acres, and we bought it from 2 people. We bought the first 16 acres, we bought from the Mason family. And hence that's why we decided to name the development the place at Mason Ranch. The original house, we're standing in the original porch. It's 60 plus years old. Professor Mason and his wife lived here, I think, pretty close to 60 years. He was a professor at the University of Arizona, and he was a botanist and specialized in cactus. So if you walk around and look, you'll see all kinds of different variations and varieties of cactus that he had planted out here. And one of the conditions when we bought it was we had to allow the Mason's son to come and pick up all the cactus after we closed. Mr. Mason and his wife passed away, and his son lived here with his wife, and she was sick. And so he finally decided that he needed to sell the property to help take care of her. This was dogged this for years and years because it's the only zoned property in this area for a multifamily. Anything else requires zoning change in a very difficult neighborhood to deal with the neighbors.
This is a high-end area.
Yeah.
So it's important to understand that. So that's where you want to build multifamily housing. Because first of all, there's a big demand here.
Correct. And we're at the base of the foothills, the Catalina foothills. The surrounding houses are $500,000 plus on big lots, at least acre lots, some as big as 3 acres. So that's how we acquired the first 16 acres. After we bought it, the adjacent 3 acres, we needed to get a sewer easement on. So we contacted the lady who owned it, Mrs. Hazel. Said, can we have an easement for the sewer? And she said, sure. But she said, well, I'd be willing to sell the property. And I said, well, we'd be willing to buy it. And she ultimately sold it to us under the condition that we had to rezone it, and then she could live here until she passed away. She lived here about 2 years after we bought the property, and then she passed away. And so now we're going to develop 312 units here.
So this is our next development that we just put out recently in our business plan. So this is the site, starts with 19 acres. And then you'll be able to see exactly the processes, just like Arroyo Verde, just like Riverwalk, just like Silverbell, the exact same process. Correct. A lot of the same subcontractors.
And so where we are today is we have got it entitled, we have got permits ready to pull, we've got construction financing in place, we have preferred equity in place, and we are currently raising our limited partners equity. And a business plan is available on the investor portal. Well, the process here and the type of building we're doing here, there is a 2-story limitation. So we're only doing a 2-story building. We're doing it more, I would call it southwestern style, as opposed to a Riverwalk or Silverbell. It's with tile roofs and stucco and large patios, a clubhouse, etc., which is, I think, is more in keeping with the ranch theme and the neighborhood than the more modern style building is.
So what are the projections for this property?
So the timeline is, when do we break ground, and when, John, when do we get the first clubhouse
units.
and the first units?
No, clubhouse, the first units would be after the first, around at the end of the first year, but we're supposed to start in November, about mid-November. And we'll break ground, we will relocate. There's a lot of gorgeous cactus on this property. I don't know if you guys noticed, that is the biggest barrel cactus I have ever seen in the state. I have no idea if it is the biggest one in the state, but that is an awfully big barrel cactus.
That needs to stay,
stay
on the project.
Yeah, it stays on the project. So do all the saguaros. And we have what we call an MPPO plan, a Native Plant Preservation Act, that we have to stay with. The blue markers that you see on the trees and the plants, those all are plants that we're saving, relocating to a nursery, and then we'll use them in the landscape of the entire project.
So we'll break ground in November and hopefully open units up by the end of 2025.
Right.
And then there'll be a lease up in 26 and 27.
Right.
And then we'll stabilize in 27, put new debt on, just exactly like every project, the Riverwalk project or Silverbell or Arroyo Verde will be the exact same process.
Those first deliveries will happen in a year, maybe less. We're hoping less. And then we deliver about a building a month after that till it's done.
It is $87 million.
Well, 319 units. It's a lot bigger than the other two you looked at this morning. It's actually like both of those put together. The elevations that we're using to make it look a lot like the neighborhood, we had the architect, Ross, said he really liked the look of the old Main down at the university. So we sent them down there to take some pictures, and they based those roof lines and the towers on the buildings on the design at the U of A.
So if you don't know Old Main was the original building for University of Arizona.
Yeah, way back.
It was way back.
It's over 100 years old.
Years ago. They sent the architect down there and said, that's the design we want here.
Yeah. It's very similar. The challenges are substantially less. We don't have the elevational. There is a 14-foot drop from the main road to the back of the property. We do have to import about 22,000 cubic yards of soil, but that's it. There's no major bridges. There's no big washes to deal with. No giant retaining walls. We have one little thing that trickles off of the property next door and runs off onto another property. It's nothing compared to what we've been through before. The challenge for this one is we're working with a brand new builder who we haven't worked with before. Though they're super cooperative and they're really willing to listen to our way of doing things and using some of our subs. We think it's going to go real smoothly. They're a great bunch of gentlemen to work with.
The challenge, of course, is management. You know, how you manage the people, how you manage the subs, how you manage the lease up. As always, it's problems that we know how to execute on. But as John mentions, compared to the other projects we've done in the last 5 years, this is a cakewalk.
Even though it's bigger. More units, of course, but a lot easier to build on. A lot of people, when they buy sites, realize the cost of the land plus all the structure in order to build on it, right?
Yeah.
And this is primarily a flat site.
Right. And the larger we go, we get a better economy of scale out of things. So we're buying more light fixtures, we get a better discount. We're buying more plumbing fixtures, we get a better discount. All those things. And now we're starting to collect rebates on some of these things too, where it's to our advantage to buy from a specific supplier and who offers us up rebates at the end of the project. So
think about it on a construction project. If you're going to build 100 units, might as well
build 200 or 300.
Yeah,
exactly.
because you have a framer still coming to build 100. You might as well build 300.
At the end of 100 units, the guys are just finding their stride. That's when the buildings start to really happen and really come together, because all the trades that have been working at it through those first 100, they don't even have to look at the plans. Everything just falls into place because they've got it memorized.
You get
So,
a cadence as
yeah,
you start to build.
exactly. We call it
Actually speeds up.
a flow. Is what we call it on the site. And when you hit it, when those subcontractors are all firing on all cylinders, there ain't nothing like it. It's a beautiful thing to see it happening, that's for sure.
How much money will it save you guys having your in-house construction team versus if you had to use someone else?
Well, on this particular site, we are using a third-party contractor. On our next one out at Rita, we will be self-performing, but I think the biggest savings is the percentage that a GC charges us most of the time. So
let's back up on that, because what we save by self-performing, as I think I told you earlier today, was we identified directly with what the subcontractor is charging us, and so we know what we are able to work through all the noise that going with a third party would do. So we understand what the bids really are and what the costs really are going to be. So they're not padded by by working with a third party contractor. It's hard to quantify what that means in savings, but it just means that we're giving you the best bang for the buck on our project.
I think that traditionally, having been on both sides of this, having worked for Ross and building them for ourselves, and having worked for Ross and using third party before, we see a definite difference in the pricing that we receive from the contractors when they know they're working with Ross and I. And it's anywhere from 1% to 2%. When you talk about $87 million, it's a ton of money. And now they always know we ask for it. But my first 2 bids for electrical and mechanical are from the same contractor. And they said, if you're going to use this for both, you can knock 2% off of this $5 million worth of work that you have for us to do. That's a ton of money.
The main thing, too, is the control over the process, the bidding process and the management of the job.
Is there anything else that you think is important for the story of this deal?
One of the reasons why we like building right now is because obviously rates and costs have come down a little bit, but more importantly, we're going to open in, let's say, 14, 15 months from now at a time where there's not going to be a lot of new construction. That's actually what you want to do. You want to build when people are building, and you don't want to buy when people are buying. So you want to do the opposite, and so that's exactly what we're doing here. We'll open this project. We'll be leasing up this project in 26 and 27. Which will be the best time, because there'll be a shortage of units during that period of time, because when interest rates went up a couple of years ago, everybody pulled back. So we have this window for new construction, and everybody of course wants to move into brand new units.
There is a tremendous housing shortage in this market, even to buy or to rent. That's just going to get worse over the next couple of years.
And the neighborhood here is going to command high occupancy and high rents. It already is. It's an affluent area, and apartments are needed here. People that work in this area can't live in this area because there's no affordable housing. So this is going to be a great affordable housing play for those folks.
Mm-hmm.